Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Alston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL, 950 AM, 100.3 FM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. Well, our focus this week is on how do we fight evil, and we fight evil by doing good. We fight evil by being people of prayer. Remember something, you do not fight evil. Why? Wait a minute, Father, we're supposed to stand up against evil. Yeah, there is a truth to that. Yes, absolutely. But evil as a force is stronger than you are. So God fights evil. So if you focus on doing good, first of all, you have to focus on the Lord, but we'll talk about that in a second. If you focus on doing good, then your focus is on doing the Lord's will by doing good, and let God deal with the evil. Very effective, by the way. It really is. It's very effective. Last week, you may remember the teachings from Ezra. And on Wednesday, there was the talk where Ezra is celebrating what the Lord has done in restoring the people to Judah and restoring the temple. He knew that none of it was done by the people. They were so much locked into what they've been kidnapped to, which was Babylon, that they didn't have any power to be freed, and was the Lord who sent Cyrus the Persian to free them. So we understand that was the Lord who did that. The Lord fights evil. We do not. We fight evil. Well, we don't directly. We fight evil by doing good. And that's always got to be our focus. Now, yesterday I talked about how the city of Philadelphia, the churches in the city of Philadelphia, may have responded to the rioting and looting there. And I told you the whole story of how it began. It began with the situation of the police officer who shot someone who was in a police chase. The police officer, in a matter of maybe 6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, but certainly wasn't long, he ordered the man who had parked at the end of this chase, he ordered the man to show his hands. He shows his hands, and there was a knife he saw, and the police officer shot 6 times and killed the man. And a judge dropped all charges. About a month later, a judge dropped all charges, and this left the city extremely upset, and you had rioting and looting, members of especially the people of color, rioting and looting, demanding to know why this happened and why the charges were dropped. It's my understanding the district attorney is going to try to reinstate them. But anyway, that's the situation. Now, we don't know the full situation, but we clearly do know that rioting, looting isn't the solution. But why is the rioting, looting there? It's expressing the anger and the frustration and the hatred. And of course, some people are doing it just because they like to riot and loot. But understanding that's where it's coming from. And of course, we also understand that it is hurting the community. Now, many of those stores, this is happening in other places, many of those stores are going to close and never open up again. And so the question is, how do people respond in situations like that? Clearly, there is, from a religious perspective, clearly there is a need for a prayer service. That is absolutely a need for a prayer service of some point. First of all, the funeral has already happened. In the Catholic Church, we do monthly mind masses. And clearly that's important, but clearly there's important for people, but this is also a time for people to recognize that all those people rioting and looting, the person who was shot, all those people, God has a will that they are saved. And our action has to be directly involved in doing God's will. So, how do we respond to these situations like that? We don't respond by just brushing off our hands. What's that expression? Just whatever. We just, shake brush off our hands. I forget the expression. Brush off our hands, walk away and say, well, that's the way things happen and that's all it is. No, there's something that needs to be listened to there and responded to there on both sides. I mean, I'm sure that there are members of the Philadelphia police force who are saying, who don't agree with, number one, the shooting, and don't agree with the way it was handled. I'm sure that's the case. They may not say it, they may not express it, but I'm sure, because all that action affects their ability to do their job. And if they're seen as people who will constantly do that, which I'm sure they aren't, but if they're seen as people who will constantly shoot someone like that in the way that was done, then it undermines their ability to do their job. And then the other side is there has to be listening to the community to understand their frustration, their anger, their grief. I mean, whether people like it or not, there are people who would have loved this person, and now he's gone. And I can assure you that that is always the case. So we're going to talk more about this on the other side of the break. We'll be right back right after this. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. We're back, and we're talking about fighting evil by doing good. And what I was just talking about is in the case in Philadelphia, like I talked about it yesterday, is the importance of people hearing what's being communicated and listening. Now, one of the mistakes that people may make from the side of those who are rioting and looting is looking at every police officer in Philadelphia is just like this one police officer. Who they may have disagreed with the action he took. And I wasn't in that position, so I can't say one thing or another. I've told you as a sailor that we were trained not to shoot to kill, and we were trained never to pull out the weapon unless we were going to use it. But police officers receive a different training, and they're also more in a situation of on-the-spot reaction. So I'm not in that position. I can't cite it. I can just say, from my perspective, I disagree with the way that played itself out, but I wasn't there. So I can't say other than that. But what we can say is the importance of understanding that there's a bigger dynamic here. Now, if this happened, which hopefully it doesn't, but if it happened in the city, I think for example, in somewhere around this area, I would be inclined to encourage people to, some kind of a religious service, some kind of prayer, especially within the Catholic Church. And we have the unique reality with the Catholic Church because we have the tabernacle in the church, which we as Catholics believe is the body and blood of Christ, contains the body and blood of Christ. So we understand that. So that's another special reality that we as Catholics can offer that others can't. And so we can understand that, but that also brings up the reality, how do we fight evil? You don't fight evil by saying, well, what we're going to do is our side is going to bring up, some kind of weapons and we're going to really silence the other side. No, that's never going to work, ever. And that's what the Lord really calls us never to do. We have to be people of prayer. We have to be people who react in prayer. I've told you before that one of the situations that I dealt with was a case where there was a situation where people were screaming against the church, and someone said, this is demonic. And I said, but we know how to deal with the devil. There's very powerful ways that we deal with the devil. And it doesn't necessarily involve bringing in the local exorcist. And, it involves to be there and bringing is to live in a way and to pray in a way that really demonstrates how the Lord is stronger than all the evil in the world. And these are things we have to look at, but we also have to look at what is not being communicated by the church to some of these areas. And where is it that maybe the officials who in Philadelphia tried to stage a coup of the church want the church silenced? And how do you come to the reverse of that and just ignore them and keep on spreading the important message you have. These are some of the important things to look at, because remember, when you take God away, it's that principle that's illustrated well in a movie I can't necessarily recommend to you because it is rated R, but it's illustrated well, and it's an R-rated movie in every sense of the term. So I'm not recommending it to you, but I can tell you it does dramatize St. Augustine's teaching on evil. When you take God away, what comes in response? Chaos. And this is what's happening. They've been working very hard. People have been working very hard to silence the voice of the church for the past 20 years, and now they're looking around saying our world is surrounded by chaos. Remember the rule of Romans 1. It's so important there. What is Romans 1? Remember, there is idolatry, turning from the Lord. They find something else to worship. Then comes moral breakdown and civil breakdown. And why is there moral breakdown and civil breakdown? Because by turning from the Lord allows their minds to be darkened. You're witnessing this going on today in other factors, and our call is to bring that light where there is darkness. We'll talk more on Monday. Have yourself a blessed day.
I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.